Good morning, gang. Happy Monday morning. The beginning of Thanksgiving week. The day that we all celebrate the freedoms that we have, the new world, the breaking bread, the harvest, that sort of stuff. We celebrate our freedoms living in what used to be the greatest country in the world. Who knows what it is now? It's interesting because we all across the country are struggling, regardless of what the media tells us, regardless of the constant lies that are published by Biden, Harris, Pelosi, Schumer, any other Democrat about how great things are. We know the reality. We all lived and strive for the American dream, and that's something that we kind of celebrate this week. That no matter where you were born or what class you were born into, no matter what color, race, religion, creed, whatever that you were blessed with upon your birth, you had the ability, or you had upward mobility, I guess. You had the ability to do whatever you wanted. That was the freedom that you were allowed. How you chose to use that was up to you. Okay. And the goal for most people was to be middle class, to have a comfortable home where you could raise your kids, raise your animals, grow your gardens, a warm place, comfortable to sleep in, food in your belly, have friends over, and you had some pride in it. And people worked hard to strive to get that. And in the last couple of years, we've seen it basically taken away from us. Now, by definition, the middle class is the 60% of the people in between the 20% that are the rich and the 20% that are the poor. Okay, that's basically where the definition of middle class has always been. And so those 80% of people could afford the trappings of buying a house, having a car, putting good food on the table, etc., etc., etc. Okay. Yeah, that's changed a little bit in 3 years. 3 years ago, in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, the middle class was still at 60% in the middle. The middle class has now been shrunk to about 50%. The 20% still on the top, 50% in the middle, and 30% are now categorized as poor. Okay. Scarier yet is what nationally the income, the household income level is or needs to be considered middle class. And that ranges from $118,000 to $153,000 before taxes each year. That's a lot of money. Okay. I mean, you're now talking about both mom and dad working, and both of them need to make roughly $60,000 a year to be at the bottom end of middle class. Right? Okay. Now, again, it depends on where you live. You live in Mississippi somewhere, it's cheaper to live than it is to live in, say, the Bay Area in California. Okay, so there's where you get your range. But overall, generally, those are the figures that define what's middle class. Do you fall into them? Or have you now become the new poor? It's really interesting because the middle class, by definition, is supposed to be able to afford the trappings, the house, the car, the food, the electricity, etc., based on their income. We have now got to a point, and this figure just came out, that only 30% of Americans can now afford to pay cash for a middle class lifestyle. That a lot of people are living a middle class lifestyle on credit, which all that is doing is accelerating their descent into the poor, or into the category of the poor, because of rising interest rates, because of poor unemployment. Don't let Joe tell you that unemployment is around 4%. Unemployment is actually at 7.2. Okay, those are the U6 numbers. That's where currently unemployment rate sits. Okay, don't let Joe tell you that inflation is down at 3%. Inflation in Joe's tenure right now, since he's taken office, officially is 20%. Since Joe took office in 2021 to where we are now, we are at 20% officially. So just to give you an idea, how do you like working Saturdays? Because you need to work 5-day work week, what you used to be able to afford in a 4-day work week, now you have to work a 5-day work week. So 5-day to 6-day. You have to work one extra day to afford the exact same stuff today that you were able to afford the day Joe was inaugurated. That's the example of Bidenomics. Okay. I'm going to give you a real good one to think about. There was a report that came out of the Financial Times this morning, or actually yesterday, but it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Beef prices. Studies now come out. Beef prices are expected, get this, to double from here next year. Okay, so we're paying about $5 a pound for ground beef. Expect that to be 10. I was in the grocery store the other day and saw ribeye steaks, didn't buy any, for $17 a pound. Want to go to $34 a pound? Yeah, there you go. Okay. I'm going to give you some facts on beef prices. The average price of beef sold in grocery stores is now higher than it was during the pandemic. Okay? You got to produce the beef, right? The amount of hay that is stored to feed cattle is at its lowest point since 1954. All these droughts going on. I mean, the amount of rain I've got here in the last 4 months, I could measure in a thimble. Okay? We have got less than a quarter of an inch of rain in 4 months. Okay? Ranchers are cutting their herd sizes. They can't afford to feed them. Okay? We're at a 61-year low. The lowest we've been since 1962 in the amount of head of cattle that are slated for beef. Right now, we have 28.9 million beef cows in the United States, according to the government. It's the lowest since before I was born. Okay? Mind you, the population has more than doubled in that time, but we have less beef. Figure that out, okay? If your family ate 3 pounds of beef in the 1960s, you can now eat 1.5 pounds of beef, because maybe only 1 pound, because there's twice as many people and there's less cows. Okay? Beef production this year is down 5.2%. It's expected to go down another 7% next year. Right? Again, compound it. All right? That's 7% of 105%, not 7% of just 100. Okay? You've got to compound, if you will. Why do we prep? Because we're trying to maintain somewhat of a normal lifestyle when the world goes to shit, whether on a global scale, whether national, state, local, or your household. When something happens, you want to be able to maintain your lifestyle. You want to be able to have a house or roof over your head of some sort, whatever, whether it's a apartment or a mobile home or whatever you have, trailer, your decision, but you want to keep that. You want to be able to stay warm in the winter, stay cool in the summer. You want to be able to have clothes on. Okay? You want to be able to eat. You want to be able to turn the lights on. That's becoming harder and harder for the American public. 30% of us, one third, less than one third of the country, can pay their bills to maintain their lifestyle. 20% of them are the rich. I don't think Leonardo DiCaprio or Jeff Bezos is having a problem figuring out whether or not there's going to be dinner on the table tonight. They're okay. Okay. Even the CEOs and upper management in companies, they're fine. It's the rest of us. It's that professional level, the guy with the bachelor's degree. It's that middle management. It's that working class guy who's going, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it this month. There's a little bit too much month left at the end of the paycheck. And it's not because they're going, hey, you know what? Let's go out and blow a couple of $100 at a bar on Friday night. They're going, no, let's see if I can pay the electric bill and put gas in my car. Hopefully I can eat. We've seen for the course of the last couple of years how people have stepped down. Like I said, they've gone from Trader Joe's and Whole Food down to a mainstream grocery store, a Kroger and Albertsons, whatever it would be. Then they went down from there to start shopping in Walmart. Then they went down from there to be shopping in an Aldi. Then they went down from there to be shopping at Dollar General. Okay? And wherever you fall on the list, what was normal, chances are you've dropped one too. Because it's getting harder to afford stuff. Okay? They'll tell us all the time about, we just don't understand how good the economy is. And like I told you the other day, when they're calculating CPI and going, oh, gee, the things that have dropped the most are airplane tickets and rental cars, and that means that, inflation's coming down. Doesn't matter to me. I don't fly on planes and I don't rent cars. So, no, that hasn't affected inflation how I see it. I look at my food cost, my gasoline cost, my utility cost. Those are the ones. And guess what? Those are all up. Food prices this year, okay, 20% increase. That is the official number of what we've seen an increase, on top of what we saw last year. And now we're hearing that beef is expected to double. Okay? So what happens to our other protein sources? What happens to pork? What happens to chicken? Oh, I don't know. Gee, they keep floating out this, we've got a bird flu problem, got to cull all the chickens. We've got a swine flu problem, we've got to cull all the pigs. This is all planned, people. And this is why we need to stay ahead of the curve. They are trying to get that 20%, which they've now got to 30%, to 40, to 50, to 60, to 70. And if they get to their goal of the 80%, we are in the feudalistic society. 20% elite, 80% pauper. They're working on it. It's happening. And the only way you stay out of this is to take advantage and prep yourself to stay where you are. How many of you go into your pantry and pull out a can of whatever, a bag of rice or whatever, and if the price was marked on, you look at it, especially going into your freezer and say, gee, I bought this chicken last year or whatever, it's been in your freezer for a year. And you pull it out and you look at the price on it and you go, holy crap, that's what I was paying last year? And you look at what you're paying this year. There's a whole lot of people who probably wish they listened to us even just a year or two ago about putting stuff back, because there's a lot of sticker shock in the grocery store. There's a lot of sticker shock everywhere. The gas station, the utility bills, the insurance companies, whatever, everything's going up except paychecks. Okay. Joe keeps coming out, I've created so many jobs and everything. I looked this up yesterday. Of the 160 some odd million jobs that there are in the United States, 26 million of them are part-time jobs. Now, granted, there are people that want part-time jobs, but I can't think that nearly 15% of the American public wants to work a part-time job. Part-time jobs used to be for retirees to make a little extra money, high school kids or college kids, to have a little extra money. Maybe it was, mom to have a little extra money when the kids were at school or whatever, and she could go work from, 10 to 2 or something would be. No, the problem with it is part-time jobs are becoming the norm. Why? Because then companies don't have to pay you benefits. You don't get retirement. You don't get insurance. You just get a paycheck. And Joe's saying, I've created so many jobs. Great. Mary's working 40 hours a week at 2 different jobs where she works 20 hours each. She doesn't collect any insurance. She doesn't get any retirement benefits, but she's working 2 jobs. Some people working 3 jobs because they can't find full-time work because Joe's destroyed that. He's sold all that to China and to India too. This is the thing. The middle class is being crushed by liberal policies. If you saw Argentina yesterday, Argentina overwhelmingly, by a landslide, denounced liberalism and elected a libertarian president. Argentina. Okay. Hopefully, we're going to see another turn where the world says, right here, liberals, okay, your ideas failed again, like they have 100% of the time in the history of man, okay? Communism, socialism, liberalism has never, ever succeeded. It has never built a country better than it was before. It has always, 100% of the time in history, destroyed the country. And anybody that is liberal, all you are doing is asking for your own demise. You are begging to be poor. If you want to be poor, that's your choice. That's not my choice. My choice is to continue upward mobility, living a comfortable life. I've been poor. It sucks. I've never been rich, but I'm perfectly happy being middle class. And I'll be damned if some diaper-wearing, pudding pop-eating idiot is going to take that away from me. Pinball out.